Hello, I'm happy to welcome you on my YouTube channel. We're gonna cook today two kinds of amazing shortbread cookies. These are classic French recipes. In French there is a word sable for shortbread pastry. So today we'll be cooking two kinds of sable cookies and they are really awesome and mouth-watering. The first sable is Viennese Sable and I'll prepare the chocolate version of this cookie. I do also recommend you to try the original classic recipe of these cookies without the cocoa powder. I will leave a recipe below, it's very easy. You just need to take flour instead of cocoa powder. The second sable is a famous diamond cookie by Pierre Herme, the greatest pastry chef, and it's absolutely incredible as well. There are many types of sable actually, but in this video we'll be cooking just these two types. These recipes are very similar. They are almost identical in terms of ingredients, grams and baking temperature. Actually, there are only two differences in them. In one sable recipe we use only egg whites and in the other recipe we use, on the contrary, only egg yolks. And the second difference is that in the first recipe I'll be using soft room temperature butter and in the second recipe I'll be using cold butter from the fridge. So I'll start with chocolate Viennese Sable. For this sable I'll be using soft room temperature butter. We need 190 grams of butter for this recipe and just the same amount of butter we need for the second recipe. I will be using two different brands of butter and I want to compare the result. We'll see it together because butter is the main ingredient for any sable. In both recipes we need 75 grams of powdered sugar. Next we need for this recipe 230 grams of flour, and for the chocolate version I will take 200 grams of flour and 30 grams of cocoa powder. So, and here for the second recipe I have just 230 grams of flour, just the same amount. I will also be using fleur-de-sel. I love a pinch of salt in sweet dessert. You can take just normal salt. And I will also use vanilla extract for these cookies. Usually you need not more than just 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract. Okay, so let's start. First we need to beat soft butter with sugar powder and a pinch of salt. It's better to use a flat beater in your stand mixer for that. I have only one stand mixer and two recipes, so I want to use my stand mixer for the second recipe, for the diamond cookies. So for this one I will be use just a hand mixer. Well, actually it's not a very good idea for sable because we always try to mix and stir the dough for sable as little as possible. But in case you just have no stand mixer, use a hand mixer, it's okay. I whipped my butter with sugar powder for 5 minutes and now I add an egg white here. Egg white from just one egg, basically it's about 35 to 40 grams of egg white. And I also add flour and cocoa powder here. I stir it a bit and mix again. Remember to clean off the dough from sides of the bowl and mix it well again. This cookie dough is really soft and it's quite easy to make. If you mix it in a stand mixer, do not mix it for a long time. It's not necessary. We just need our ingredients to blend. Well, now I take a piping bag and an open star nozzle, a classic nozzle for this recipe, and I put my dough into the piping bag. My oven is preheated to 150 degrees. For sable, an average temperature for baking is 145 degrees to 155 degrees. These are general figures actually, and you can adjust temperature according to your oven and make it, for example, 160 degrees, which is also possible. Now I'm ready to pipe my cookies, and the usual shape for them is this kind of star. If you make classic recipe without cocoa powder, then you can add some fruit jelly in the middle of the star after baking. Actually, you can pipe any form and any shape you like. It can be roses, wavy strips, whatever you like. When I'm done piping, I put my cookies into the oven for about 15 minutes. And now I move to my second recipe. I have here these butter in cubes from my fridge. The smaller these cubes are, the better. And as I said, I will use a flat beater for this recipe. So here we can start with beating butter with powdered sugar and add other dry ingredients later. But actually in this case it's not necessary, so I put all my dry ingredients into the butter and switch on the mixer. We need to get this sand texture. It should be grainy, just like wet sand on the beach, like crumbs. While my mixer is working, I grind pistachios. I knead it in small pieces. You can add them into the dough or roll the cookies in them. This is what I'm going to do. Your stand mixer should be working on a middle speed. And please keep an eye on the crumbs. They should be really small with no big pieces of butter. For this recipe I take egg yolks, here they are, and my vanilla extract is here also. I add yolks and then I wash closely, because just in few moments I need to switch off the mixer. You should catch the moment just before the dough starts to come together in a bowl, and you should stop the mixer just before that moment. And then you can get your dough together with hands. I put some flour on the table. Here I need kitchen scales because I want to divide my dough into 3 equal sticks. So it weighs 512 grams, and this means that I will divide it into pieces of 170 grams each. Next, I roll my pieces into sticks quite fast. They should be equal and smooth. You can help yourself with the cutting board. They do not need to be ideal right now, but, well, you can try to make them quite equal. Now, when I have these 3 sticks, I put them in a row and take a baking tray or a cutting board and put it above and roll them again to make them equal in height. So now I have them all equal, nice and smooth, and later I'll cut them into equal cookies. Now I wash them with egg and sprinkle my ground pistachios on sides. In classic version, diamond cookies are sprinkled or rolled into sugar, so you can try both versions. I let the egg to set for a while, and then we need to wrap them in the cling film and put them in the freezer for several hours or overnight. The next day I open them. Well, if you want, you can wash them with eggs again and sprinkle with pistachios once again. And next I cut them into round cookies, approximately 1.5 centimeters wide. I put my cookies on the baking tray and I will bake them on the same temperature of 150 degrees Celsius for 12 to 15 minutes. And now here comes the result. Let's see what we got. Well, if you remember, I had doubts about the butter I used for my first chocolate sable recipe, and you see that cookies are spread a little bit. That can be because some butter have more water content, and sometimes it also happens because the dough was overdone a bit. Diamond cookies look much better. I used different butter for them, plus the dough was cooled. That's important for sablé. So I want to warn you to use the best butter for sablé recipes, as it is a huge part of the result, a huge part of the success. As an example, I have here a photo of Viennese Sable without cocoa powder, the classic version prepared with different butter, which was more dry, and the result is completely different. You can see these waves and curves. Please keep that in mind and take the best butter you can get. And I thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.